For the next story, let's start with some pictures. This is a warehouse in Brussels. What do you see? Tanks, and a lot of them. They're second-hand, they need some repairs, but they're battle-ready, and buyers are lining up.
Okay, so here we have the famous Leopard 1. It's an A5 version, it's a Belgium Leopard. Yes, we bought this approximately 8 years ago in the market. They are available over here, but we cannot use them as is, of course. We need a full retrofit. There are governments which we have, let's say, currently in discussion. Yeah, I just got recently a call from the Ukraine government, so there's a lot of interest.
The demand is on the rise. The business of war has become more profitable. There's a new buyer in town, Europe. Why does Europe need weapons? The short answer is Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine and Europe is feeling threatened. Leader after leader has made pledges. Germany will spend over $100 billion to revamp its military. Poland plans to double its military spending this year. The United Kingdom plans to do the same by 2030. Last year, Europe's total defense spending crossed $200 billion. This happened for the first time. It's a record. And it's a record that no one saw coming. Europe is becoming a serious military player thanks to the war in Ukraine, and its defense spending is projected to rise every year now. What does this mean for Europe, for Russia, and for the rest of the world? That's what we'll discuss in this story. Tonight, we're taking you inside Europe's arms bazaar, starting with what's happening with the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's a military alliance of 30 countries. In the event of war with Russia, the NATO will be the first responder. It will be Europe's only line of defense. Yes, there is talk of a European army, but at the moment, it's just talk. So if there's a war, NATO will have to step up to defend Europe. NATO members are pushing for bigger budgets. Eastern Europe is leading the charge. I'm talking about countries like Poland, Lithuania, Estonia. They all want NATO members to hike their contributions. Right now, the benchmark is 2% of their GDP. That's what they spend on defense. The demand is to raise this to 2.5%, even 3%. How much money would that be? Hundreds of billions of dollars. Where would the money go? To buy weapons, most certainly. Eastern Europe wants a stronger NATO, and they're the ones pushing for it because they are the ones who are on the front lines. They feel threatened and vulnerable. Russian forces are fighting next door. They're fighting in Ukraine. The risk of the conflict spilling over is real. Poland shares a border with Ukraine. It says an effective deterrence is the need of the hour.
To także, proszę Państwa,
We are here ready to talk with our allies on the topic of support for Ukraine. But I will say once again, we help Ukraine, but we also care about the security of the Republic of Poland. As part of NATO, the most important element is deterrence. We must remember that deterrence works when you are able to defend ourselves, when we have that military capability.
How do you create this deterrence? By acquiring more lethal weapons. And where will you get these weapons? Well, Europe is leaving no source untapped. The US is the world's biggest arms manufacturer. American suppliers are making bids, and European leaders are listening. At least 24 deals could be in the pipeline. If cleared, they could be worth $28 billion. Discussions are in early stages. Every agreement will need the approval of the US Congress. What can Europe buy from America? Well, we have a list. Germany wants to buy American F-35 jets. Poland has sought 250 M1 Abrams tanks. The UK wants a new ballistic missile defense radar, and Spain wants new military helicopters. Meanwhile, European manufacturers are also anticipating big business. 5 companies could get the lion's share: Airbus, Leonardo, Thales, Indra, and Dassault. They're involved in more than half of European defense projects. They take away 75% of the total funding. Plus, new players are entering Europe's arms bazaar, players like South Korea. We told you about this last week, in fact. Poland recently bought South Korean tanks and howitzers. That deal was worth $5.8 billion. You see, Europe's needs are diverse, so every major defense manufacturer could get a piece of the action. Plus, there's an underground market. It became active soon after the war began, and these players are also making a fortune, the ones operating underground. I'm talking about the private arms dealers. In February last year, when the war began, Kiev was desperate for arms. It was ready to pay any price. Europe's private arms dealers saw an opportunity, they stepped in, and they drove up the prices of vital shipments. I have a case study. In the month of March, Kiev needed a shipment of ammunition. A private dealer structured a deal. Reports say the company is called Excalibur International. It used a chain of intermediaries to supply ammo to Ukraine. It started with a Dutch company, then an Estonian, and finally a Czech company. They were all involved in the sending of this shipment to Ukraine. They're all middlemen. Why is this chain noteworthy? I'll tell you why. One shipment is being routed through 3 different sources, each taking their cut. The price was bound to go up, and it did. At least one broker received over $2 million. That was 30% of the contract. So where's the oversight? And this is not an isolated case. This became a trend. Ukraine wants arms, Europe wants arms, private brokers have a booming business. But without oversight, this trend could lead to dangerous outcomes, like weapons ending up in the black market, perhaps even in the hands of adversaries. And this is not a far-fetched assumption. This is a lesson from recent history. You may remember America's messed up exit from Afghanistan. What happened to the weapons that the Americans left behind? They ended up in the hands of the Taliban. Now, Europe is set to become the new hotspot for arms imports. But it's a risky business. Brussels must watch where these weapons are going.